What would have happened if I was born in India instead of America? That was the gift of the book, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. By the way, for those who are not initiated in this, Fred, in his fun and whimsical way, has encouraged us to use children's books for the beginning thought on the top of the bulletin and for the invitation. And who here has read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret? It is a brilliant book, and for those of us who are female, who in the old days, not many females were in books, it was a lovely invitation, and it's about a girl who's trying to figure out if she's Jewish, if she's Christian, what she is. Archbishop Tutu wrote in his book, God is Not a Christian, don't we have to be reminded too that the faith to which we belong is often a matter of the ancient of history and geography more than personal choice. If we had been born in Egypt before the Christian era, perhaps we would be worshipers of Isis. If we were born in India rather than South Africa, chances are very considerable we would be Hindu rather than Christian. It's worrisome that so much should be made to depend on the whims of fate, unless it is to make us more modest and less dogmatic in our claims. God doesn't want people to be Christians and then seem to stack the odds so considerably against them, proceed to punish them for their failure. Such a God is too perverse for me to want to worship him. I'm glad the God I worship is other than this. So as Jesus asked Peter, who am I? You heard who I understand Jesus to be in the Matthew passage. The Jesus that I follow, that I worship, is the one who welcomes a woman with an issue of blood and was therefore ceremonially unclean, but he welcomed her back into community. The Jesus I worship is the one who welcomed the ostracized Zacchaeus and who welcomed the man who had been sitting by the side of the pool for decades, never receiving welcome, never receiving community. What are the lenses that we use to view the world? What are the stories we tell ourselves? The gift of being at Fountain Street is getting to hear some of your stories. There are so many stories. But so many of us know what we're not more than what we are. What are the stories we tell ourselves? Did you notice I included the quote from Dr. Seuss, Horton Hears a Who? Part of why I did that, and part of why I included the dedication in the front of your bulletin, I hope you notice this, is he dedicated to a friend from Kyoto, Japan in 1954, just 9 years after the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. What are the stories we tell ourselves? A person's a person, no matter how small. The sermon has gone through so many changes, especially this past week. Thinking about our capacity for violence, our capacity to tell the truth, to not tell the truth. Some of the recent anniversaries in our history I feel deeply. For those who don't know, yesterday was the 49th anniversary of the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, where 4 little girls who simply wanted to go to Sunday school were killed. This past week was the 35th anniversary of the assassination of Stephen Biko in South Africa. If you don't know his story, you need to learn it. 2 weeks ago, we remembered the anniversary of the murder of Emmett Till, a little boy, only 14, who went down south to be with family, and not just was murdered, but was bludgeoned and tortured. And his wise and brave mother said to Look magazine, I want them to see what they did to him. And the line went around for blocks, and people talked a little bit about the racism in our nation. But this is the kicker. Every one of the people who were murdered by people who go to church. I'm no fool. I understand the fear, the distrust, the hate of Christians. I understand the hope and the promise and the possibility of those who follow Jesus as well. So what makes Fountain Street unique? Patrick and crew are working on a video entitled "You Belong Here." Who's had a chance to see that? It's still in the completion stage, but is it not brilliant? I think it's very cool. You belong here. And different folks say, I belong here. You belong here. Is it true? Does everybody belong here? Does somebody who is a professing minister of Jesus Christ as welcome as someone who is an atheist? As welcome as someone who's gone through several different paths on their journey? As welcome as somebody who really doesn't know but likes Fountain Street? Rabbi Michael Lerner is going to protest unjust banking practices. Tonight, until Tuesday night, is Rosh Hashanah. And then, of course, later this week, Yom Kippur, the new year in the Jewish year, but a time of making amends, of saying, I'm sorry, a time of being forgiven. And he said, why on Rosh Hashanah? Isn't this mixing politics and religion? But in Judaism, there's no separation. The entire Torah is a story of a liberation struggle against oppression that Jews read, a part of each Shabbat. The fundamental message of Judaism is that God of the universe cares about social justice, peace, love, and sought for people to engage in lives that foster a society that embodies these values. The Torah enjoins us to loan without expectation of reward and to treat people fairly. God is heard to be saying to people that need to remember, the whole earth is mine.